Thank you so much, Jadu, for the incredible introduction, and thank you to Dave. So just a couple points of clarification. Lots of questions about the belt buckle. Yes, it's a real belt buckle. I grew up in a ranching rodeo family. I still compete a little bit in rodeo and the team roping event. Yes, we do know how to spell possibility. We get a lot of questions about that. You guys have something against vowels? Do you not know how to spell? The reason we don't spell out possibility is because possibility exists, but you have to have eyes to see it. It's not always going to be spelled out for you. And sadly, most of us spend too little time looking for the possibility that already exists, and we spend way too much time creating limitations that don't exist. And so today, I'm going to help you see more that's possible than you could see before you came into this room. And everything that we stand for and everything we believe at the Possibility Company is built on this really simple belief, and that is possibility exists, limitation is created. Possibility exists, limitation is created. So what does that mean? You cannot create possibility because it already existed long before you and will exist long after you can just tap into it. But it's always there. Now, you can turn your back on possibility. You can limit it for yourself. But possibility will never not exist as a universal truth. Everyone agree with that? It's always there. And it'll wait for you. And it'll be patient. It'll be kind. And when you're ready to tap into it, it's there. But guess what doesn't exist until we create it? Limitation. I don't mean to step on any spiritual or religious toes, but I'm not aware of any story of creation in any religion or any faith that says, and on the eighth day, God created limitation. Doesn't exist until we create it. And unfortunately, a lot of times as human beings, we are really good at creating limitation. And so my intention today is to help us see more of the possibility that exists. And I spoke to Dave yesterday right before I got on my flight, and he shared with me this idea of cultivate, activate, calibrate, and accelerate. And I got so excited, and I started thinking about possibility, and I got this download. My team doesn't love when I get these last-minute downloads because I called them last night and said, hey, we have to rebuild all my slides. I'm giving a different presentation tomorrow. So I've not seen all the slides. Ella's a hero and got them uploaded into the deck in a flash when Dave wasn't showing his. And I love this quote by Bruce Lee, don't punch the target, punch all the way through the target. And so what I want to share with you today is how you can go this identity from inside out and punch all the way through the target. And Dave, you said some really amazing things about, this was an identity creating moment for me. This was an identity shaping moment. This was an identity crisis. Also, this I loved that Joe did. So when Joe's looking down and trying to balance this, he's creating limitation. When he looks up, he's just tapping into the possibility and life becomes easier. And so I love that example with the baseball bat because it's the example of limitation or possibility. And so I'm going to take each of these cultivate, activate, calibrate, and accelerate, and I'm just going to put a little bit different spin on them because I wanted to tie into the theme of this incredible event. And the first thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about cultivating your identity. My fear is that we spend way too much time in this business, in this industry, architecting a business, and we spend very little to no time architecting our identity. But here's the reality, and if you remember nothing else from my talk, this right here, you will never outperform your identity. You will never outperform your identity. Your identity and the way you see yourself and who you've created yourself to be is the lid for your ability to perform. And what happens a lot, and it happened to me when I was an advisor in this industry, is we spend so much time on skills, certifications, designations, knowledge about the industry, which is amazing, but a lot of times we don't have an identity that's big enough a container to even house all of the skills. So it's kind of like you find this really rare oil that's super valuable and you have an infinite supply, but all you have is a little bucket to contain it in. And it does not matter how much oil there is, you can only take as much as big as your bucket. That's your identity related to your skills. So we over-index in this industry on industry knowledge, and we under-index on identity. So the more profound your identity, the greater the capacity you can perform, And then what happens is you perform right up into that identity, and then what do you have the opportunity to do? You can grow your identity again. It's a mountain with no top. We call it Possibility Mountain. It's just infinite possibility. Like, we'll never get there. We'll never get to the top, but what we can do is we can continue to create our identity. We can continue to grow in who we are and the way we see yourself. Now, I'm going to say something really bold, but I really believe this. The most important work you will ever do in your life is working on the way you see yourself. Because how you see yourself is how you see the world. You do not see the world the way it is. You see the world the way you see yourself. And the world never gives us what we deserve. The world gives us a version of who we are. And so when Dave talked about his journey, it was like really this journey of identity. It was this journey of like, creating this bigger identity to have this bigger capacity, this bigger container to receive. And one of the things that I learned the hard way myself is that you're either creating and reaffirming an identity that's anchored in limitation or that's rooted in possibility. You're either creating and affirming an identity that's anchored in limitation or rooted in identity. What's the difference between an anchor and a root? A root can grow. An anchor holds you down, a root holds you up. And the deeper the root, what happens above the soil? The bigger the growth. And a root regenerates. It regrows. It's like your identity is infinite. Like, if there's one thing to work on in our lives, in our businesses, it would be our identity. Now, I want to tell you a story about my 17-year-old son. He just turned 18. He's my oldest son. My aunt, unfortunately, let me know. She's like, you have a son turning 18? You're old. I was like, thanks, Aunt Kristen. My son came to my wife and I a few months ago and says, hey, Dad, I want to go do summer sales selling door-to-door pest control. And I was like, oh, boy. Because I think he thinks he knows what he's getting into because they took him to this conference. And they're really good at taking young guys to these conferences and get them really hyped up on how much money they're going to make, and they show them all the cars they can drive. And I didn't want to discourage him. My wife's super nervous because he's only 17. He's between his junior and senior year. But I'm telling my wife, like, if he wants to go, I think we should let him go because at 17, if he can go and knock on strangers' doors and try to sell pest control and he can last the summer, he will prove to himself that he can do anything, right? So, and what made her feel more comfortable is that the team that was recruiting him is a former client of ours. Really good guy, great company, great culture. We've helped them with their story, their message, their leadership. And so my oldest son, Tate, goes out. And I didn't know how much to tell him the truth about how hard this was going to be versus just like throw him to the wolves and let him, So I just kind of said, hey, you know how you and I have created your personal manifesto, like all your declarations and your affirmations? So I've helped my wife and my kids and a lot of our clients create what we call a manifesto. And it's like your beliefs about who you are. And he said, yeah. I said, you might want to recite that thing a lot. And he was kind of like, okay. So he goes out and he starts calling me every single day. My son Tate suddenly becomes fascinated with what I teach about leadership and mindset and sales. He's more fascinated in the first week than the entire time he's lived in my home, right? Hey, I've heard you talk about sales before. I've heard you talk about way of being, mindset. Will you share some of that with me? And so the first 2 weeks, Tate said, were the loneliest, hardest, most discouraging 2 weeks of my life. So his first week, he made 3 sales. So that's knocking doors 8 hours a day, 6 days a week to make 3 sales. The second week, he makes 4. But then that following Monday, he makes 3 in a day. The next day, he does 6 in a day. The next day, he does 4. At this point, my former client, Reed, is texting me, there's never been a 17-year-old that's ever come out and sold that many accounts in 3 days. What's going on with your son? And I was like, your guess is as good as mine, So I called Tate, and I said, Tate, what's going on? And he said, Dad, I show up, and I knock the same amount of doors. I give the same pitch. He goes, but I finally remembered to start talking to myself more than I listened to myself, and I started reciting my manifesto all day long, every day. He goes, for the first 2 weeks, I only focused on what I didn't want and what wasn't working and what was going to go wrong, kind of like Dave talked about. And he said, and I know you've taught me ever since I was little to focus on what I do want and what is working and what I want to create, because thoughts create, language creates. And here's what's interesting. Sometimes I think we think in business that if I'll just focus and think and talk enough about what I don't want, it'll change. Or if I just talk and think and focus enough about what isn't working, it'll change. But language is creative. Language creates. So if you talk about what you don't want, what do you create more of? What you don't want. It's amazing that we can't see that. So he said, I just started talking about what I did want. I started reciting my manifesto. And he said, I don't know how to explain it, Dad. It's just kind of crazy, actually. I'm the same exact person, but I'm making sales. And I said, well, it's not crazy, Tate. So last week, when he turned 18, my wife and I had the opportunity to go to El Paso to spend his 18th birthday with him. And since I was there, Reed, my former client's like, hey, come in and talk to all the guys. Talk about identity, sales, confidence, leadership. And then I actually had the opportunity to go out and knock doors with Tate. Now, I've never done door-to-door sales. I've done a lot of sales, but I was like, I want to go knock doors with him and experience what it's like. So he got me a shirt, got me a hat, and it was so fun to learn from him and be mentored by him. And I will tell you, I have a whole new appreciation for door-to-door sales. 2 hours in, I was like, dog, can we go home? My feet hurt. I'm tired, sweating out here. He's like, Dad, I do this 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. And it was really fun for me to we did 2 doors, and I watched him. He's like, all right, you ready? And I was like, yeah. So I go up, knock on the door, followed his pitch. It's like, hey, we'll be real quick. We take care of your neighbors, Roger and Rio. We're their bug guys. Most people have been seeing. And I go through, and then and Tate's like, wow, you're doing really good. And then I get completely lost. And I was like, and Tate will tell you the rest. And then we go to another door, and I blew it. I asked way too many yes or no questions. And Tate's like, Dad, you can't ask so many yes or no questions. You got to control the conversation. You got to be more confident at the door. Like, why are you standing like that? You got to stand back. You're freaking people out. You're right in their face when they open the door. It was just amazing to learn from him, And we made 2 sales. And we're inside of this guy Rio's home making a sale. And Tate's got his phone out because he does everything on his iPhone. It's really all the app, all the sign up. And I catch a picture of Tate's phone. It says, I am momentum. I am that I always belong. I am that I'm always being guided in the moment. I am that all possibility is available to me. I am that there is no situation and no consequence that could cause me to stray from the truth. I am an amazing salesman. I am the utmost form of integrity. I am a creator ordained by God and a visible light to others. I have an intense desire to lead. And this guy Rio was like, are you okay? I was like, I'm not crying. You're crying, Rio. What's up, dude? But listen, this isn't rocket science. This is called, how much time do you spend talking to yourself, telling yourself the truth about who you are and who you want to become versus listening to yourself and listening to the voice of limitation. And one of the things I would really challenge you and encourage you to do is, are you talking to yourself more than you're listening to yourself? How much time do you spend affirming your identity of the things that are true, the things that are powerful, versus the things that don't serve you? So another kind of funny story about Tate is he had a really good week the week before we went out to El Paso. And he calls me on a Saturday. And I've now learned that if Tate calls me earlier in the day, because I kind of know about what time he knocks doors now, if he calls me earlier in the day and I go, hey, Tate, how's the day going? And he says, well, I haven't started knocking yet. What do you think that's a sign of now? If he calls me before he started knocking doors, what do you think he's looking for from me? A pep talk. I've realized that. He's like, I'm facing down an 8-hour day of knocking doors. I don't want to do it. So I haven't ever called him out on that. I've just noticed, oh, okay, he hasn't started knocking doors yet. So it's a Saturday. It's the day after 4th of July. It's July 5th. I was like, hey, bud, what's up? How's the day going? He's like, oh, I haven't started knocking yet. And I was like, yeah, man, how's it going? He's like, Dad, all my roommates, all their girlfriends are in town. Because he's 17. Everyone else in the house is like mid-20s. He's like, all their girlfriends are in town. They're going to go goofy golfing and take the day off. And I was like, oh, okay. What do you think Tate's hoping I'll say to him? I'll just take the day off, dude. You've had a great week. But he told me earlier, he goes, I need to make one more sale to do $10,000 in revenue for the week, which gets me into this bonus structure. And I really want to make this one sale. But I could tell he was hoping I would justify, dude, just take the day off. You've had a great week. Or he was also hoping I might say what? Dude, go knock the doors. Like, what are you doing? And I've learned the hard way to really try hard to not give my kids the answers. So I'm sitting there and I'm just kind of saying a prayer real quick, like, what do I say to Tate? And all of a sudden this question comes through me to ask Tate that I've never asked anyone before. I've now since asked that question to myself a lot and to my team. And I said, man, Tate, you know what? You're going to lie down and go to bed tonight. And based on who you were today and how you showed up and the story you told yourself, you will have earned the right to tell your story about who you are. So I would just make the decision that would align with what story you want to be able to tell yourself tonight when you're laying in bed. So he calls me at 6:30 that night and he goes, freaking A, Dad. I haven't gotten through my pitch twice. So that means like doors are getting slammed on you. Like he's like, I've only gotten through the full pitch twice. He's like, I probably should have went goofy golfing. He goes, but I'm out here, so I'm going to stay. He goes, all the other team worked a half day. They've gone home. Can you set up an Uber teen account for me? Because I don't even have a way to get home. Because I told the team to leave me. So my wife sets up this Uber teen account that allows you to ride into Uber by yourself as a teenager. He calls me back at 8:30 and he goes, Dad, I made 2 sales. And I go, Tate, do you know why you made those 2 sales? And he was like, it's because it's who I am. And he goes, Dad, I'm a dog. And I was like, you are a freaking dog, Tate. So here's the reality. We are always affirming our identity. You can't not ever be creating your identity. It's just what are you creating and affirming your identity with? Sadly, I think the only thing we ever affirm our identity with is when we do something wrong or we mess up, right? And we go, oh, I'm such an idiot. I'm so stupid. I'm so forgetful. I'm so lazy. And then we do something amazing, and what do we say about that? Ah, it was a fluke. Ah, I got lucky. No. The flukes are when you mess up. Don't affirm your identity with that. But when you do something really great, when you show up in a really powerful way for a client, when you make a difference and you close a sale, when you show up for your team, that's when you go, oh, the reason I did that is because that's who I am. You affirm your identity with the truth. And as your identity grows, so does your ability to perform. Again, you cannot outperform your identity. And what's so interesting to me is I speak to audiences all the time, and I'll say, how many of you have some version of a manifesto or affirmations or I am statements that you have memorized that you recite every single day? I'll usually get a room of 200 people, and I might have 1 or 2 people raise their hand. It's like the thing that makes the biggest difference in your life. If you want to become a better husband, father, wife, mother, work on your identity. You want to become better at sales? Work on your identity. You want to become a more bold, confident leader? Work on your identity. It's the common denominator that shows up everywhere. I did more to improve my marriage by working on my identity than I ever did working on my marriage. And I work on my marriage. I did more to be effective in sales, just like Tate, by working on my identity than I ever did at like working on the tactical elements of sales. Because the identity has to be big enough as a container to even take the skills and house them. Does that make sense? So, all of us, I believe, when you're born, I believe you're just born with one voice. I call it the voice of possibility. It's the only voice you know when you're little, when you're born. What do you think the voice of possibility says to us when we're young? What are some of the types of things the voice of possibility might say to us? You can do anything. You ever met a 3-year-old and told them they're amazing? What will they likely say back to you? I know. Why would you? That's such a dumb thing to say to me, I know. Like, why would you even say that? So obvious, you know? That's all they hear is like, I'm enough, I matter, I belong, and I have worth. Sadly, though, kids start getting older, and I think the saddest part is I think with social media, it's getting younger and younger and younger. There's this other voice that starts getting introduced to them. A voice that they were never born with that I believe they were never meant to have, and that's the voice of limitation. What does that voice start to say to them? You can't do it. You're not good enough. You don't belong. Man, maybe if your parents looked more like those parents, maybe if your mom was more like her, maybe if you dressed more like this. And the sad thing is the voice of limitation is just filled with lies. None of it's true, but we start to believe it more and more and more. And the older we get, and I think sadly for most people somewhere in their late teens, early 20s, it's the only voice they can hear, and even sadder, it's the only voice they think they've ever known. It's the voice they believe they were born with. And it's incessant. You're not enough. You don't belong. You don't have worth. You don't matter. And what it does to us, especially in this industry, it causes us to go on this crazy achievement at all costs because we really believe like, well, when I hit this amount of production, this amount of AUM, and this amount of commissions, then I'll finally be enough. And then you do it, and you're actually more discouraged than when you before because you get it, and you're like, wait, this was supposed to work. And I feel a bit cheated because I feel the exact same as I did before. And so if you're like any hard-charging, sensible entrepreneur like me, you just double down and go, well, it must be another zero. I must need to be even doing more. And I call it the endless pursuit of nothing because you'll never find it out there, something that was already always in you in here. Like, little secret, there's nothing you can do to improve your self-worth because you already have always been worthy. There's nothing you can do to be enough because you already are. You were born enough. There's nothing you can do to belong. You've already always belonged. There's nothing you can do to matter. You've already always mattered. You were born that way. Like that was born in you. Now you can remember it. And so here's what's crazy. Okay, you ready for this? And at one time, someone held you. You were the newborn baby infant. And when you look at a newborn baby infant, what do you think? What goes across your mind? Cute. Perfect. Possibility, perfect. Amazing, they're enough, right? Everyone agree with that? And a buddy of mine jokes, he goes, yeah, they don't even do anything. They don't contribute, they don't do jobs, they don't make any money. They have nothing to show for anything, and yet they have infinite worth, infinite possibility, and they're enough. And that was you at one time. So what's the only thing that changed from that day till now about you? Just the stories you tell yourself. We've just simply not been taught how to work on our identities. So the thing I would have you know is that whether you want to do something about it or not, you can't. Like you are enough. You do matter. You do belong. You do have worth. And I think those are the core four. I talk about them all the time. And it all comes down to like, am I enough? But the core four that people really wonder is, am I enough? Do I matter? Do I have worth? And do I belong? And you know what's crazy is the amount of successful advisors that I've met and had the opportunity to get to know and serve who are wildly successful and yet don't have any feeling of any of that. They're successful and yet don't believe they're enough. Don't believe they belong. Don't believe they have worth. Don't believe they matter. And it's like, imagine what would be possible if they operated and showed up and sold and presented from that place of like, I know I'm enough. I know I matter. I know I have worth. I know I belong. And I'm not doing any of this to prove anything to anybody. I'm just doing it because I want to continue to grow and make a difference for other people, just because I know there's more that's possible. And isn't that a beautiful thing that possibility exists? It's like there's no limit to how good you could get. There's no limit to how much better you could get. And when you get better, everything gets better. When you improve, everything improves. And it's like, man, what if we spend a little more time working on our personal identity? What if we spend a little bit more time really thinking about how we see ourselves? And then a really amazing thought is, what if we actually helped our team members with their identity? What if we helped our team members think about the way they see themselves, the way they care for themselves? Who do you think gets more done in a team? A person who shows up at the office and on their drive-in, like, it's like, yeah, I'm enough. I matter. I'm a leader. Or one of your team members who shows up and on the drive to the office is like, man, I'm not enough. I'm worthless. I don't belong. I don't matter. And by the way, guess who's not immune to this? Humanity. Every single, how many of you have team members? I guarantee you every single one of your team members on a daily basis to some degree or another battles with like feelings of inadequacy and not being enough. And no one's ever taught them how to create an identity that's powerful. No one's ever taught them how to create an identity that's like really like. And why are we so afraid to do this, by the way? Why are we so afraid to create an identity about ourselves where it's like, I'm amazing. I'm an incredible leader. Why are we so afraid to even think that, much less say it? Because we think we're not enough? What else pops into our head around like just owning our greatness, owning that we're amazing, owning that we have gifts and talents? Fear of what other people think, ego, arrogance. Okay, some of you have heard me say this before, okay? I don't think you'll ever hear this the same about ego and arrogance, okay? What's your name, sir? Dan and Elena. Okay, I'm going to use Dan and Elena as my examples. So Dan and Elena both are going to go in for open heart surgery, okay? Dan's going to get the humble heart surgeon. So this is how this looks. Hey, Dan, I know this is really scary. I just want to let you know, I'm pretty good at what I do. I'm not the best, I'm not the worst, I haven't killed anyone yet. Graduated about bottom third of my class. My staff's okay, a bunch of them are due, but I think you're going to be okay. Let's give it a go. How many of you are pushing like the eject button, right? Like, how do I get out of here? Okay, second heart surgeon, come to Elena. Hey, Elena, I know this is really scary for you. I just want you to know, humbly speaking, I'm one of the best in the world at what I do. My team is the best in the world at what they do. You could not be in better hands. We've done this hundreds of times. We can do it with our eyes closed. You have nothing to worry about. We got you. You're going to come out of this way better than you came into it. Which heart surgeon do you want doing open heart surgery on you? Right? Number one. Number two? You guys ready for some hard truth that I had to confront? All of us want heart surgeon number 2 to show up for us, and we're almost comfortable being heart surgeon number 1. We're all way more comfortable showing up weak and intimidated and like, oh, I don't want to be too much. I don't want to be too confident. I don't want them to think this of me. And we make the whole thing about us. What if you just decided to be the thing that you would want to show up for you? So in your world, it's like, who would you want sitting across from you in a client discovery meeting for the very first time? The humble advisor or the confident, bold, authentic advisor who knows who they are? And I get it, right? But here's what's interesting. Which of those heart surgeons made it more about them than the other? First one. Did you guys get the feeling with Elena that I was being arrogant or egotistical? So why would I be willing to be so confident in my identity? Who was that for? That's in service to her. Here's the most ironic thing about boldness and our unwillingness sometimes to be bold in our identity. It's like, well, I don't want to be bold and make it all about me. But the second you decide not to be bold because you don't want to make it about you, who's the only person you just made it about? Isn't that the irony of that? It's like, look, if I can be just really direct, and I had to say this myself, get over yourself. It's not about you. It's about this husband or wife or family that's sitting across from you that's like hoping and praying that someone will show up like a leader for them and be bold and guide them. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about like real lives that are at stake for people. So one of the things that I want to challenge you with around this idea of like, okay, well, how can I start to cultivate my identity? It could look just like this. You could start to intentionally create thoughts and ideas that you want to believe about yourself. Now, here's what's interesting too about this though. I think a lot of people, most people are waiting to become something, and then they'll start saying it. Well, once I'm confident, I'll start saying I'm confident. Once I'm amazing, I'll start saying I'm amazing. Will you ever get there? Okay, best example I can ever think of, Declaration of Independence. Any World War II history kind of fanatics or geeks in here? How improbable was it? Sorry, World War II I'm going to come back to. Revolutionary War. How improbable was it that we won that? Improbable doesn't, like, there's not a word in the human language to describe, like, improbable is like, doesn't even do it. It was impossible. Greatest military superpower in the world going up like a bunch of ragtag, disjointed, not connected, right? Not unified. And what did we freaking do? We declared our freedom, then we went and won it. And I don't think most people realize that. What would have been the safer bet? Yeah, you know, someone in a meeting one night, you know, like John Adams is like, hey, we could win our freedom. It's like, dude, shut up, don't say that out loud. Like, what if the British find out? No, we're just going to go secretly try. We'll do our best. And if we win our freedom, then we'll declare it. Then we'll sign the declaration. We'll write our names really big. We'll like ball out, okay? But they called their shot. Think about that. They signed their names. And they didn't just say, we're going to try and be free. They said what? We are free. As of this moment, right now, we are free. They declared it. They got really clear on what they wanted. They declared it with language. They believed it was possible, and then they did the work, and they surrendered to the outcome and put that in God's hands, and we're a free country. And Tate and I last weekend named that the creation equation. Because I helped Tate see in San Antonio, he's like, that's all he's done. He went from making no sales to being in the top 3 in his team, in his region, every single week, and the only thing that changed was, he goes, I got really clear on what I did want instead of what I didn't. I spoke it into existence with language. I knocked the doors. I did the work. But he goes, every day I go out and I say a prayer, and I didn't tell him this part. This was news to me, but he goes, every day, Dad, I pray all day long, and I go, God, I'm going to knock the doors. It's your job to open them up and put people in front of me that I'm supposed to talk to. And if I'm supposed to make sales today, I'll make sales. You apply that to your marriage. You apply that to your health. You apply that to your business. You apply that to your production. It's the creation equation. You get really clear on what you want, which is actually hard. Most people don't take the time to get really clear on what they want because we'd actually have to do something about it. So one of my favorite quotes by John Spence, he says, you cannot change what you refuse to confront. So anything you're unwilling to confront, you can't change it, right? So if you're willing to confront what it is you actually do want, that's a huge step. And then you start declaring it. You don't wait to become it. You declare it. I will become this. I am becoming this. I am on the path to this. But then you actually have to, Tate and I said, you have to knock the doors. Tate's like, Dad, it blows my mind. There's some like 25-year-old kids out here that just don't go knock doors. I'm like, what do? He's like, they just sit at the Airbnb all day. He goes, and I was telling a 25-year-old the other day, like, well, dude, if you're just going to sit here, go home and get a job because at least you'd be making money. And I was like, I'm glad you're seeing that, like, because we can't just, but here's what we do sometimes. We miss one of the pieces. There's been times in my life where I'll declare with powerful language who I want to become, but then I don't knock the doors. Does that make sense? There's been a lot of other times I've knocked the doors and worked really, really hard, but I wasn't doing the identity work to keep up with it. But if you get clear on what you want, you declare it with language, you do the work, and then you submit to the outcome, you can create anything. That's exactly how we became a free country. And it was super bold. So one of the things I would challenge you with is like, what's the shot that you have not yet called? Like the United States, like we called our shot. We declared it, right? But look, you cannot, like, I've also had a really interesting experience with some of my clients. They'll say, man, Chris, like, I have this vision of becoming a better husband. Dude, I said it for like 3 days and nothing happened, bro. I'm like, well, how many years have you been a bad husband? Like, well, like 13. I'm like, well, you got some room to go, dude. Like you say it once, it stirs the soil. You say it over and over and over, and it can't not take root. The universe can't not give you what you want. And by the way, you're telling it what you want every single day, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. But if you have an identity that's rooted in possibility, if you have an identity that's rooted in I am enough, I am a leader, I am momentum, right? Like whatever this is for you, that's an identity that can start to be big enough to capture all the possibilities and opportunities that would be out there for you. So one of the challenges I want to give you in this is if you don't have 3 things that are intentionally created that you say to yourself about yourself every day, start with 3. But I would want to run into you a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, and be able to ask you and you could tell me on the spot. Because I know a lot of people that have affirmations and declarations but don't have them memorized. You know what I call that? That's like having a home gym that you go sit in and you expect to get in shape. Do the reps, do the work. It is so simple. How long would it take you to say 3 things about yourself that are powerful, that are affirming every single day, morning and night? 10 seconds. Yeah, it's like, but I think sometimes that's why we don't do it, because as entrepreneurs, like, no, it has to be really hard, it has to be really complex, or really complicated in order for me to give attention to it. I promise you, as your identity increases, so will your performance. And the word, I love the word cultivate, comes from a Latin word, colere, which means to care for, to tend. That's what like we're doing. Like, are you caring for your identity? Are you tending to your identity? Okay, so the next one, activate. I want to talk about activating your leadership. So cultivate your identity, activate your leadership. And one of the things that I want to say around this idea of activating your leadership is advisors give advice and leaders provide leadership. Advisors advise, leaders lead. Shooters shoot. So think about this. In the world we live in today with all the uncertainty that's out there, right? Anyone else think, by show of hands, there might be more political economic uncertainty in the history of our lifetimes than ever before? Okay? Think about that for a second. We have what I call the stars aligning in this industry. You have greater economic and political uncertainty than ever in our lifetimes. You have the largest wealth transfer in the history of the world taking place. And you have a world that's starved for real leadership more than ever. Everyone agree with that? What does that create? What plus what equals what? Opportunity like we have never seen in this industry, and I think a lot of people are asleep to it. I ask advisors all the time, hey, how have you been showing up differently in the last 18 months? They're like, not same as usual. I'm like, man, you're missing it. Like, why? When have we ever had those kind of stars aligned? Largest wealth transfer in the history of the world taking place, greater uncertainty ever in the history of our lifetimes, and a complete void of leadership. If you're not working more intentionally, harder, and hungrier now than you've ever been, you're completely missing it. You can create more in the next 1 to 3 to 5 years, I believe, than you have in your entire careers up to this point in time. People are more open than they have ever been to leadership. We've done research, by the way, our own surveys and studies with ultra affluent and high net worth families. They are not only more open to a second opinion than ever before, they are more open to changing advisors than ever before in these surveys that have been done. Because when there's uncertainty, everything's possible. I think sometimes people miss it. I think a lot of people think, well, when there's uncertainty, I got to get on the sidelines. It's like, no, no, no. When there's uncertainty, that means everything's possible. And so a useful thing around leadership, how do you activate your leadership? You play to win. As far as I can tell, there's 3 ways to play the game of life and to play the game in business. You can play not to lose. What does playing not to lose look like? Playing small. I'm kind of on the sidelines. I'm kind of in. Always playing on defense, on my heels, compromise. Any of you ever had a favorite sports team that went out and played not to lose and it just drove you crazy? It's like I can't take my eyes off this game, but I want to stop watching. There's playing not to lose. That's one way a lot of advisors, unfortunately, are playing today because of the uncertainty. The uncertainty has drove them to the sidelines instead of the middle of the field. Like, I'm just going to wait and see what happens. It's like, good, you keep doing that. I'm going to go serve the hell out of people. What would it look like to play to play? What's different about playing to play versus playing not to lose? Yeah, I'm trying, right? I'm at least on the field. I hope it happens. I want it to happen. What would it look like to play to win? I've already decided it's going to happen. I have already decided the game is won. We just got to go play. And in my mind, it's like, if you're going to be in the game, why not play to win? I can see if someone's like, well, I don't know if I want to be in the game or not. Okay, fair enough. But if you're going to play, why would you not play to win? Because you're the types of advisors. Now listen, there are advisors in this industry we know that when they win, some people lose. Everyone agree with that? That's not this room. I know that's not this room. I mean, I'm blown away. Like the first time I got invited to Currence, I was like, dude, these are the coolest financial advisors. Like, just so different than a lot of what I've seen in the industry, you know? Like, you guys are what I call purpose-centered, you know, heart-centered, purpose-focused, mission-led advisors. Which means when you win, everyone wins. You're the type of advisors that when you win, the world gets better. Can you see that? When you win, humanity improves. When you win, families get stronger. When you win, families stay more close and connected. You're the types of advisors that probably can change the generational, you know, massive issue we have in this industry, which is over 90% of all families that inherit any kind of wealth. Any of you read these statistics? By the 3rd generation, what happens to the money? Completely gone, and even more devastating, the family's complete disarray. Suicide, addiction, mental health. Our industry has a 90% fail rate, and the number hasn't moved in over a decade. This room could move it. You're the types of advisors that when you show up and lead, not just advise, I really believe like you guys set things in motion that could actually have families be more of the 10% and growing. And leadership is the most profound thing you have to fight commoditization. I believe one of the greatest threats you face as an advisor is looking and sounding like everyone else when you know that you're different. Isn't that the most frustrating thing in the world? It's like there's nothing that I hated more when I was an advisor than when someone would tell us like, yeah, you're kind of like, I was like, oh, punch me in the face before you say that, you know? So it's like, do we have the courage to be different, and are we trying to be different on purpose? I just want to read this. This is from an advisor in our coaching community. He sent this to one of our coaches, Sal, who coaches him. He specialized, one of the things, any of you as advisors ever feel like you might be trying to serve too many different types of people? Right? Yeah, so part of leadership is we got to figure out who we feel called to serve instead of just who's our target market and trying to help everyone. Who do you really feel called to serve? Who do you make the biggest difference for that you also love serving? Those are two big clues. When those things come into, when who you love serving and who you make the biggest difference for, because there's some people you love serving, you don't make a huge difference for them. There's some people you make a huge difference for that you don't love serving. Right? Anyone, and if you have a client you know you make a difference for and you're like, I would fire him if I could, like if I could do it all over again? Yeah. Yeah, it's like when the people you love serving and the people you make the biggest difference for come into alignment. That's profound. So that's the first thing we help this guy with. So he was doing a seminar to that group, 10 doctors. And the first seminar he did, he handed out, I think there was 8. He handed out 8 feedback forms, got 3 back, and of the 3, 1 was interested in talking with him. It's not great, but had 1. So Sal challenged him, goes, dude, be different. Don't show up and give another lame, commoditized presentation. So they worked on his identity, worked on his message, worked on his presentation, and then they came up with an idea to play snakes and ladders. You guys remember the old snakes and ladders? Yeah. This advisor brought in this massive board and made his own snakes and ladders. And it, was scared to death to do it. Like, these are doctors. They're going to, laugh me off the stage. They're going to think, I'm not doing that. 10 attendees, 10 feedback forms. All of them exceeded expectations, 10 appointments. Here's what he said, though. That's Chris Hufferding. Do you know Chris?
I guess we're co-coaching.
I love it. So Chris goes, literally 30 seconds before I brought out the board, I thought, am I really going to do this snakes and ladders with these doctors? I swear I heard you say, dare to be different, Chris. He's like, so he did it. But we're just so, I don't know if we're afraid to be different in this industry, or it's just kind of easy to do what we've done. But one of the ways you activate your leadership is I refuse to be a commodity. I refuse to be seen and looked at like anyone else. Do I have the courage to be a leader who provides leadership more than just an advisor who gives advice? And one of the most powerful ways to activate your leadership is with your language. Okay, do we have a microphone? Would someone be willing to come to the microphone and just role play with me really, really quickly? Thank you. Remind me your name, sir.
Oh, Rick.
Rick, yeah. Okay, Rick. So we're going to role play. I'm a prospective client. You're the advisor. Okay? We've just had a great initial discovery meeting, which, by the way, language creates. So if you're in our coaching program, you'll know that we encourage advisors not to call discovery meetings. We call them connection visits because there's a difference in language. We don't call them reviews, by the way. We call them progress meetings. Right? Because what would you rather go to? A review or a progress meeting? A discovery meeting or a connection visit? So we've just finished a connection visit. It's gone well. So Rick, you're going to just basically say, hey, I love meeting with you, Chris. When can we schedule our next visit?
Chris, this was a great session. When can we get back together?
Man, you know what, Rick? I loved it as well. I have a lot going on. Would you be okay just following up with me next week sometime?
That would be great, but we both know life's going to get in the way, so why don't we just schedule something right now?
Boom. Okay. Rick's already providing some leadership here, right? Do you know how many what do a lot of advisors do in that situation? Okay. Let me just, really simple example, but tactical to everyone. So Rick, let's switch roles, okay? Man, Rick, I loved meeting with you today. Again, I know that we can make a profound difference for you. Let's go ahead and set up our second meeting. We call it the possibility session. And the reason we call it the possibility session is because today was all about you. In the second meeting, we're going to go way deeper into what's actually possible for you and your family, likely beyond anything you've ever thought was possible.
That sounds really good, Chris. I'm really, really busy, though.
Okay. So are you asking if I would follow up with you?
You're right.
Yeah. So let me tell you something, Rick. You can absolutely count on me not following up with you. And look, here's why. I don't mean any offense by that. We don't chase people in our firm. A few reasons. 1, we don't have to. We're blessed to work with great clients. We're very, very busy. 2, I'm really bad at chasing. If I chase you, you will get lost and fall through the cracks, and we will not be able to serve you. And unfortunately, you might go work with another firm that will not take as good care of you as we will. And 3, my experience is we don't like chasing, but people like yourself don't want to be chased and be hounded.
I can do next Tuesday.
Okay, thanks, Rick, for participating. Now, bold. Now, by the way, that's not prescriptive. I'm not saying you have to go start doing that. But But you want people to take you serious, you start looking them in the eye and go, you can absolutely count on me not following up with you. Look, what I do is serious. I'm too committed to you to chase you and have you be chased. Everything you just got done telling me for an hour that's important to you, you and I both know that if you leave here. So I'll tell you the first time I did this. So most of what we teach advisors, one, I wasn't an advisor, so a lot of it I've made mistakes and learned with. And then this particular one around follow-up was a few years ago. I had someone who reached out to me, an event coordinator, about me being a keynote speaker at an event, referred by another event coordinator who had had me speak. So I was like, oh, this is as good as it gets, right? And right away in the conversation, this event coordinator, she goes, oh yeah, we're always looking for great speakers, speaker this, speaker that, I think you'd be a great speaker. I already have concerns. Why? Yeah, you don't get to lump me in as another speaker. Yeah, I've now just been commoditized. And we allow this to happen, you guys, all the time. But I'm like, dude, do I say something? Like, how bold do I be? So I was like, man, language creates, leaders lead. So I kind of said, hey, can I just stop you for a second? I said, you've talked a lot about speakers and how you're always looking for great speakers. I speak, but that's not who I am. So if it's okay, can I just tell you a little who I am? She goes, yeah. And I said, I'm a profound, powerful leader, and everywhere I speak, I'm usually the highest rated speaker. And yes, I would come speak, and I could do a really good job for you, but I don't want you to see me as just another speaker. And we're on Zoom, and she goes, okay. And just moves on. I was like, well, that didn't go well. That was awkward. So we go a little bit later in the call. We get to the very end, and she goes, okay, so I tell you what, I'm very interested in you. I'm going to send you some information on our event. Why don't you look it over and reach back out to me? I was like, oh my gosh, I got to be bold again, you know? And I said, ma'am, can I be really bold with you? And she goes, yeah. I said, you can absolutely count on me not following up with you about speaking at your event. And she was like, excuse me? I said, look, I don't need to speak at your event. You don't need me to speak at your event. I'd be absolutely honored to be at your event. I'd be absolutely honored to speak. I'd probably be one of the highest rated speakers and make a profound difference to everyone there. And if that doesn't work for you, look, I understand. But if you want me to speak, I'll count on you reaching back out to me. And she reached out a couple weeks later and offered me the keynote. And she might not have. But it's just like, how bold are we willing to be in our leadership and our language? Okay, so now if Rick and I were to set that meeting, I'd say, Rick, thank you. I'm looking forward to our possibility session. Rick, one thing I want you to know that you can count on from me and our firm, I just think you ought to know this. If we decide to work together, we will challenge you more than you have ever been challenged by another advisor or by this industry, because we believe in you, and we're going to push you to achieve what's possible beyond even what you ever imagined. You can also count on us to support you more than you've ever felt supported by another advisor or another firm. I look forward to meeting with you next week. Do you think people want to be talked to that way? If they're serious, they do. People who don't want to be talked to that way, they won't. And they'll like, so it's just like a small demonstration of like language creates, but how bold are we willing to be in our leadership? So it's like, yeah, you can count on me not following up with you. Another idea around leadership. And look, your leadership is always on display. It's never not being demonstrated. That's kind of the awesome and scary thing. Do you know how many advisor meetings I've seen start a discovery or a possibility session, or sorry, connection visit in such an unintentional kind of lackluster way? Listen, I'm not saying this was wrong or bad, but if there's any of you who get on Zoom with someone or have them come into the office and do a discovery meeting and you exchange small talk, and then you say, hey, so what brought you in today? I'm going to strongly advise you stop doing that. Even though it can work. It is not the strongest way, even close. Because guess who you just started the meeting like? Like every other advisor they'll go talk to is going to say, hey, thanks for coming in today. What brought you in today? And what are we trying to not be? Every other advisor on purpose. So I'm going to take control of the meeting, and from the very outset, I'm going to like, she's different. He's different. So with Jeffrey comes in, meets with me, and I say, hey, Jeffrey, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me, man. I know you could be doing anything with your time, and the fact that you chose to spend an hour with me really means the world to me. And as far as I'm concerned, today's meeting is all about you. And if I could just tell you really quick, the thing that our firm is known for more than anything is helping already successful business owners like yourself not just have success, but also have significance. So my only intention for our time together is to add value to you, whether we work together or not. Whether you and I ever meet again, I just want to pour into you today, add value to you. The only decision you and I will make today is if we have a second meeting. Like, there's no pressure to today. We can just be here with each other. And the promise I'll make to you, Jeffrey, is if I think I can help you, I'll tell you that. If I don't think I'm the best firm, I know you're a successful, busy guy, I don't want to waste your time, I'll tell you that. Does that sound fair?
Finally found the guy I'm looking for.
We'll have people that'll frame up a meeting just using our framing, and literally they're like, what is going on here? Takes 60 seconds to just have an experience of you. It's like, this is different. Now, for the sake of time, I wish I could get into it more. I'll go a little bit tactical here. And by the way, I'm going to do a bonus session tomorrow, end of day, where I go really tactical on like some real actionable takeaways. You have to be a certified income advisor to attend that, so I would highly recommend that, and I'm going to share with you some more about that. But one of the biggest mistakes we see advisors making, leaders, is if one, and here's the other thing, the minute you go, hey, what brought you in today? Without knowing it, you just turn control over the meeting to them. And what do most people coming into the office thinking or feeling in an initial discovery meeting?
Who is this guy?
How much is it going to cost? How much are they going to sell me? What emotions would we use to describe their feelings and emotions? What are they? Fear, anxiety, nervousness. So think about this. What we do in this industry all the time, we start meetings and we immediately turn it over to the most freaked out, nervous, anxious person in the room. Here, you take it. What is just not wise to do. And that's the last thing they want, by the way. Do you think they want coming in freaked out, nervous, and fearful to run the meeting? Frame it like, and when you start to get good at framing, you'll literally visibly watch clients go like this. Because you've told them everything. I've told you what we're going to do. I told you the decision we'll make. Like there's nothing to hide here. By the way, do any of you ask for the business in the first meeting anyways? No. So just tell them that. There's no pressure to today's meeting. The only thing you and I will decide is if we have a second meeting. And they're like, oh. Like, the more we can release the pressure and the noise, okay? So we're setting them free so that they can actually hear what we're saying. Now, you want to know how you set yourself free? We call it the mindset for enrollment. It's a really simple little grounding exercise. Tate actually said this was another thing. He said before every door, he grounds himself really quick. And the grounding exercise is, I'm a leader here to provide leadership. I do not know who or what is waiting for me on this side of this door, but I know I'm going to make a difference for them, and I have no place to get but to serve them. So it's like, oh, I ground my identity really quick. Because if I'm not careful, I'll just run into the next discovery meeting just like another discovery meeting, right? But if I ground myself, I'm a leader here to provide leadership. I know who I am. I know I'm going to make a difference for this person, whether we work together or not, and I have no place to get but to serve them. So I'm free. I frame up the language, set them free. Now that question is intentional. Does that sound fair? That's a micro commitment. At the end, I don't go, does that sound okay? Or how does that sound? Does that sound fair? Yes. We're 2 minutes into a meeting. We already started making agreements together. Now I might say, hey, so what brought you in today? Now, here's the biggest mistake we see advisors making. When advisors or firms hire us to come in and just do sales training, we completely flip-flop. And what I mean by that is most advisors are spending way too little time in discovery and way too much time talking and presentation. In a 1-hour meeting, we get advisors to spend 45 to 50 minutes in discovery. And it's a forcing function of you can't talk a lot even if you want to. If you're spending more than 3 to 5 minutes in presentation, in our opinion, in a first meeting, you're missing it. And most advisors are talking way too much in this industry in the first meeting. But if you can have the discipline to do actual discovery, really deep discovery, there's a magical thing that happens. You do discovery so well that they discover for themselves, oh, I think there's something here. I think I'm missing something with my current advisor. Does that make sense? So I don't have a lot of time to go deep on that, but I would just say spend more time in discovery. So how we start meetings, how we end meetings, and then how we follow up is really, really important.
Chris, just real quick. Sometimes you get, is this on? Oh, it's on. Sometimes you get clients that come in and instead of, like, you want to ask them questions, you want to get them to talk, but they don't talk. So
yeah.
So what do you do then?
Great. Julie?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyone else ever had that? They just offer you nothing, really closed? Sir, what's your name? Tim. I'll say, hey, Tim, can I just be bold and direct with you here for a minute? Sure. Man, I really want to connect with you. I told you my intention at the beginning of this meeting was to serve you whether we work together or not. Seems like you're really reluctant to share with me. Every time I ask you a question, I'm not getting hardly anything in return. Yeah, like, is this a meeting you want to have? Okay? Is there a reason why you're not willing to open up and share with me?
Just a little nervous about the situation and what we're doing here.
Totally understand that. What if I double down on the promise I made you at the beginning, Tim? I have nothing to sell you today. If you open up to me and share with me, I will serve you and give you some insights and some things I would do, even if we never talk again. So the only disservice you're going to do to yourself by not opening up today is to you. Even if you go back and work with your other advisor, I will point some things out to you, but I can't do it if you don't open up and share with me. Again, I have nothing to sell you. There's no pressure to today's meeting. So Julie, I go right at it right then. And if they can't handle that, meeting over. Next. You know what NEXT stands for? Never extend time to people who aren't ready. It's an acronym. Never extend time. But I've seen so many advisors, you'll give up a precious hour of your time, give all to them, and then they're like, let me think about it. Tell me that's not the most frustrating. It's like, don't put yourself in that position. Look, your leadership is on display the whole time, and I think sometimes as advisors we forget that. You're not just demonstrating who you're going to be for them as an advisor once you get them as a client. You're actually demonstrating the type of advisor you'll be for them in the sales process. Does that make sense? So if I'm bold and authentic and committed to you in the sales process, what am I telling you? This is who I'll be for you as a client. If I'm wishy-washy, kind of weak, and not direct in the sales process, what am I telling you? This is who I'll be for you when you're a client. So one of the things that we talk about around our leadership is this idea of B100. And we did the infinite sign for infinite possibility. So this idea of like, can I be 100% responsible 100% of the time for my leadership? Easier said than done, right? Okay, calibrate your brand. And I'm going to go through these just really quickly. So one of the things that I think about a lot with calibrating your brand is this idea of like, do you have a business or do you have a brand? So this is a client that we worked with recently, and probably the biggest thing I would have you think about here is, have I built a brand? So there's my personal identity. Then there's the identity of our firm. Is the identity of our firm bigger than me? Even if it's not named you, right? But have I built a brand that's bigger than me? Have I built a brand that matters? Have I built a brand that stands out? Have I built a brand that's different? And there's a difference between building a business in this industry versus building a brand. And then the last thing I'll say is, and I'll talk more about this tomorrow, accelerate your impact. Biggest learning lesson for me around this one is I cannot grow faster than my team. So when I came and talked to this conference 2 years ago, we had 3 team members. Today we have 13. We built a brand called The Possibility Company that I finally think was a big enough brand that was bigger than me. And look, the thing I want all of you to know more than anything is that when you take all of this, you can go from more from working to winning. Like that's what's possible. And again, you're amazing advisors, you're amazing leaders. And I already know that you're successful. Like I hope nothing I'm sharing with you today has you feel like, oh wait, you guys are already successful. It's just there's more that's possible. And I had this thought, I've never done this from stage before. So I'm going to share with you a special offer. Let me do this first. So something really special that we put together in collaboration with Currence and with Dave. And Dave, I might have you speak a little bit. If any of you are interested in the Certified Income Advisor program, you can scan this QR code, and it'll share with you the information. Now again, I'm holding a bonus session tomorrow afternoon. Anyone who's a Certified Income Advisor can come to that. We're going to go really, really deep. What's involved in the CIA program and some additional bonuses is you get specialized training by segment. You get live one-on-one coaching, industry-led guest training, CIA-only communities with special insights, a brand kit with images, social media, and email copy, discounts and tools for advisory coaching. Just that part alone, Dave, anything you would add in addition to that?
We made a strategic decision recently to lean in and pour into advisors.
There you go.
Can you hear me now? Hello? Yeah. All right. So we made a strategic decision recently to really lean into the advisors and build and continue to build the community. I think the biggest benefit for me is what I get to learn from the events that we have, the people that show up, and everyone sharing their best practices. But the deliverables, we want to elevate this community in the marketplace, and that comes with helping create identity And you talked about it a lot today, and that's really what the CIA program is really about.
Yeah, guys, I've said this a number of times. Dave's had me come and do some trainings. The CIA program is so much bigger than a certification. It's something that you can use to elevate your identity and your leadership and like stand on top of it like a platform. And I think still so many people are missing that. They're like,
Right.
oh, I have this thing. It's like, no, that is a demonstration of your leadership. If you understand how to use it and how to share that, and we'll talk about that more. Dave, you want to talk about this first bonus that they get if they sign up here at the conference?
Yes. So as a part of the offer is that we want people to just get in. We're making it available to everybody. You can join, get involved, get access to all the training, all the events that we have, and just get involved in the community. And we've given everyone 3 months just to get access to it.
Yeah, so you get 3 months of access to it, so you'd be crazy not to do it. One of the things I told Dave we would like to do is we have a special sales training called Selling as a Leader, and it's our own approach to selling. We sell it for $5,000. We're going to bonus that into anyone who signs up here as a gift to the Currence community. So if you sign up, not only do you get 3 months of free membership in the program, we're going to bonus in our Selling as a Leader Masterclass, and then we have the bonus tomorrow of kind of an open Q&A deep dive session. Go ahead.
Okay. So if
Yeah, okay.
So if we are currently a CIA member, do we get that second bonus
Yes.
masterclass? Okay.
I'll just make that easy, Margaret.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That was an easy yes. Way to be a leader and ask. No, Margaret, you just joined at the wrong time. Sorry. Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's a great question. Yeah, that's right. Turn the mics off now. Kill the mics. Okay, in closing, and thank you, Dave and Currence. I want to share. I want to do something I've never done from stage before, but I just had this. I just keep, and I keep. Every time this thought comes up to me, I'm like, I'm not going to do it, and it keeps coming up to me, and I've never shared it from stage. It's really sacred to me. It's personal, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe there's one person in this room that's supposed to hear this, and I'm going to share with you my personal manifesto that is the thing that has created my life. 15 years ago, I was separated from my wife. We were going to get divorced, had a broken marriage, broken life. I had lost both of my brothers at that stage to addiction and suicide. I lost a nephew to addiction. Have a sister who's been in prison for quite some time for addiction. And I was going down, just a path that was going to be really destructive in my life. And my wife, who's my hero, fought for our marriage and fought for me and fought for our family. And just some really incredible leaders showed up in my life at a time when I really needed them. And I started working on my identity long before I believed it. I didn't believe I was worth anything, but I just started saying it. And I started believing this, and it's created my life, and it's created who I am. And I hope when you listen to this, I hope you hear it as though it's about you. I am that I am. I'm the most relevant, relatable, recognizable voice on the planet. I am unconditional love. I'm infinite possibility. I'm unlimited freedom. I'm unending patience. I'm so powerful the world deserves all of me. I come from possibility and love, and I am everything. I am the truth expressed in language. I am that when I speak, possibility is created that did not exist. I am infinite intelligence and wisdom. I am created in the image of God. I am He and He is me. Together we are one. God works through me daily to create miracles and bless people's lives. I am that by coming to know me, you will come to know you. You will come to know God. You will come to know that you are God. I'm worthy of all the love that God and Jesus have for me. I'm loved, I'm loving, and I'm lovable, always and forever. I'm tapped into the universal consciousness. I'm led by the Spirit daily. I am that I'm one. I am that I'm the one. I am that I'm everyone. I am that I'm no one. I am that being me is the most beautiful gift I can give to the world. I am that my ideas will heal the world. I am that there's nothing to prove, only to be. I am that everything is exactly as it should be. I am that being me is enough. In fact, it is everything. I am abundance. My wife, Melissa, is my hero. I'm unwavering love, support, belief, commitment, confidence, patience, faith, understanding, forgiveness, hope, compassion, and love in her and her dreams. She is brilliant, gorgeous, beautiful, sexy, talented, powerful, and fabulous. She is absolutely perfect just the way she is. I check in with her daily and take her on walks nightly. My 5 children, Tate, Tanner, Ivy, Tripp, and Indy, are my best friends. I'm their most committed, connected, loving, patient, kind, understanding, forgiving, compassionate, present, engaged, and fun father. I'm inspired by them daily and do everything in my power to help them discover and live into their gifts. They are absolutely perfect just the way they are. I treat Melissa, Tate, Tanner, Ivy, Tripp, and Indy the way Jesus would. I am that nothing is worth getting frustrated over. I am that nothing is worth complaining about. I am that nothing is worth overreacting to. I accept everyone and everything. I am the ultimate demonstration of love, possibility, and commitment to my family. I am a bold, fearless leader. I am that I can always be counted on. I am my word. I am that I'm unoffendable. I cannot be rattled. I am the author of my story. I am that I choose to pick up the pen every day. I am brilliant, magnetic, and attractive. I'm in the best shape of my life. People cannot believe how good I look for my age and are inspired to do more for themselves. I am that I put others first. I am that I look to abundantly bless and serve those around me. I am that I listen more than I talk. I am that I powerfully edify, acknowledge, and inspire others with my words. I am that I speak possibility into others always. I am unconditional love. I am infinite possibility. I'm unlimited freedom. I'm unending patience. I'm the most relevant, relatable, and recognizable voice on the planet. I am that I am. This is who I am. And my parents named me Chris. Thank you.